Growing up, I loved to watch the movie Spirit. It's an animated movie that came out when I was pretty young, and I would watch it non-stop. And honestly, it's still a really good movie. But, anyways, it starts out portraying a bunch of horses that are being held to be tamed. But there's one horse who can't be tamed. He refuses. He longs to get out of the gates, and he's absolutely miserable. Eventually, he gets out of the gates and is thriving. He finds other horses and makes his own herd and is so happy and does so well in the rest of his life. The horse from Spirit is a perfect example of why zoos should be illegal. They're detrimental to the animal's health and are a unnecessary establishment. After some extensive research of how zoos are run and how animals are treated and the behind the scenes at the zoos, I believe that zoos should be made illegal. I believe that animals should be free to roam the open lands. So that is why today I'll be explaining to you why you should also fight for zoos to be banned. They're detrimental to the animal's physical health, the animal's psychological health, and are unnecessary, which I'll be explaining what I mean by that later. So I'll start by discussing the harm done to the animal's physical health. The small spaces in the zoos prevent the animals from doing their natural habits and tendencies, such as roaming about and chasing other things. They don't have the room, and those instincts are simply suppressed and ignored. Edna Francisco in Zoo Carnivores Need More Space, October 1st, 2003, explains that the small spaces can lead to infant deaths. This is due to the fact that those natural tendencies that the animals should have are being suppressed, and they have no room to exercise and do what they would be doing out in the wild, causing them to die at younger ages. Ian Sample explains in his article, Stress and Lack of Exercise Are Killing Elephants, Zoo Warned, on December 11, 2008, goes in more specifically to elephants and explains that elephants in zoos live half the age of elephants in the wild. This is due to the fact that elephants don't have as much room to be free and exercise, and their bodies can't maintain that way of living, and they become overweight, causing them to die at much younger ages. For example, Asian elephants in the wild can live to be 42 years old, whereas in zoos they live to be 19 if they're lucky. That's not even half the age of their free relatives. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, they have it easier in zoos. Animals are safer in zoos. But I want you to envision yourself in a similar situation. Now, close your eyes. And you don't have to feel weird because there's a screen blocking us so no one can see you. But envision a world where humans live in small glass containers a couple hundred square feet. And if you don't know how big that is, it's probably about the size or a little bit bigger than the average room. Now, all that's in this room is a tub, a bed, a desk, and somewhere to cook. You live there with one or maybe two other people that you had no say in being there with. Now, take away a few of those essentials. You no longer have a desk or a bed and just a hose. This is the equivalent of what it's like for animals in zoos. They live in small confined spaces with not enough to get by, with other animals that they had no say in who they live with. They're forced to be there. They have no say. Next, I'll be discussing the psychological harm that zoos do to the animals. Animals like us are susceptible to mental illnesses such as depression and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Depression, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, U.S. Department of Health and Human, is, quote, a serious mood disorder. It causes severe symptoms that affect how you feel, think, and handle daily activities. Humans diagnosed with depression are often unable to perform simple daily tasks and have different behaviors than they do on their good days. The same goes for animals. The depression changes their habits, their eating tendencies, and more, which in turn affects the longevity of their lives. Animals held captive can also develop stress habits. Lucy Burkett and Nicholas E. Newton Fisher in How Abnormal is the Behavior of Captive Zoo-Living Chimpanzees of June 16, 2011, explains that chimpanzees in zoos have different tendencies than those in the wild. Those in the zoos eat their own feces, rock back and forth, pace, pick at each other's fleas, and more. These are not habits you would find in the wild. Even whales gain stress habits of grinding their teeth, which causes more tooth fractures in the whales, explains John Jett, May 2018, in Tooth Damage in Captive Orcas. Lastly, I'll be explaining what I mean when I say zoos are an unnecessary establishment. All the benefits that come from zoos can be gained from other sources, as well as devastating accidents happen at zoos sometimes. In 2016, a young boy fell into a gorilla enclosure at a zoo. And in order to save the young boy's life, zookeepers shot Harambe, the gorilla in the enclosure, to death. This entire situation could have been avoided if zoos didn't even exist. This young boy could have learned about gorillas as well as many other animals in the safety of his own home, and Harambe would still be alive in nature, thriving with probably his family. Nature documentaries and the Discovery Channel and even some books do a great job at portraying animals in their natural habitats with their natural tendencies. In conclusion, zoos should be banned and we should stop supporting them. They negatively impact the health of the animals and are unnecessary. While some may say zoos are an essential and provide valuable knowledge to the observers and viewers and scientific researchers, this is not true. The horse from Spirit wasn't himself until he was free. The same goes for all other wild animals, meaning that the research that scientists do would be unnatural and skewed from the research they would gain observing animals in the wild. And when was the last time you went to a zoo and left knowing more about the animals that you saw and traumatized? It's probably been a while. And if it hasn't been a while, you could have gained that same information from a nature documentary or a book. Zoos are harmful, and we should stop supporting them because of the harm that they do to the magical creatures of the wild. The only way to truly save our animals and to protect them is for them to close. Rules and regulations can be avoided. Loopholes exist, and zoos must be banned. Thank you. Okay.
7:52.
Thank you. We're gonna watch it.
Growing up, I loved to watch the movie Spirit.
No,
It's an animated movie that came out when I was pretty young, and I would watch it non-stop. And honestly, it's still a really good movie. But anyways, it starts out portraying a bunch of horses that are being held to be tamed. But there's one horse who can't be tamed. He refuses. He longs to get out of the gates, and he's absolutely miserable.
Ooh, I guess it's
Eventually,
computer.
he
Shoot.
gets out of the gates.